The body is a temple, says the ancient text, but few understand what is truly being worshipped within that temple and what is being desecrated. In the hidden chambers of mystery schools from Egypt to Tibet, from the tantric monasteries of India to the Taoist hermitages of China, there existed one teaching so potent, so transformative, yet so carefully guarded that only the most disciplined initiates were deemed ready to receive it: the sacred technology of sexual transmutation. While modern society treats sexuality as either shameful sin or casual entertainment, two sides of the same coin of ignorance, the ancient masters understood something far more profound. They recognized that sexual energy is not merely biological impulse, but liquid light, the very substance of creation itself, the raw material from which gods sculpt realities. This force, called Oyas in Vedic tradition, Jing in Taoist alchemy, and the creative fire in Hermetic teachings, is the concentrated essence of your life force. And when unconsciously squandered, it doesn't simply disappear into nothing. It is harvested. Modern neuroscience now validates what the ancients knew. Each orgasmic release floods your brain with prolactin, dopamine crashes, and a neurochemical cascade that creates the exact state of consciousness most vulnerable to energetic predation. A momentary dissolution of the protective aura, a brief opening in your spiritual immune system. But the masters also discovered the reverse, that this same force, when consciously retained and circulated through specific internal pathways, becomes rocket fuel for spiritual awakening, creative genius, and manifestation power beyond what most humans dare imagine possible. This isn't moralistic judgment about good or bad. This is spiritual physics, the mechanics of consciousness that determine whether you remain a sleeping slave or awaken as sovereign creator. In this transmission, you'll discover the three secrets that mystery schools encoded in myth and metaphor: the energetic anatomy of what actually happens during sexual release, the specific entities that feed on wasted vital force, and most crucially, the precise protocols to transmute this power into evolutionary fuel rather than allowing it to be stolen. If you felt chronically drained, spiritually disconnected, or mysteriously unable to manifest your vision despite clear intention, what you're about to learn may finally reveal why, and more importantly, what to do about it. The first secret, the energetic anatomy of vital force. The ancient alchemists didn't speak in vague abstractions when they described sexual energy. They mapped it with the precision of engineers, because they understood it as the most concentrated form of bioelectric potential in the human system. In Taoist internal alchemy, the three treasures form the foundation of existence: Jing, essence, sexual vitality; Qi, life force, breath; and Shen, spirit, consciousness. These aren't metaphorical concepts, but measurable frequencies that practitioners learn to sense, circulate, and refine through decades of practice. Jing, stored primarily in the kidney system and sexual organs, is the densest, most material of the three. It's your genetic inheritance, your constitutional strength, your reservoir of creative potential. When Jing is abundant, your hair shines, your eyes sparkle, your skin glows, your mind remains sharp into old age, and your ability to manifest desires accelerates. When Jing becomes depleted, the opposite cascade begins: premature aging, chronic fatigue, mental fog, depression, and what the ancients called the slow death, biological deterioration that happens decades before its natural time. Modern endocrinology now confirms this ancient map through different language. Sexual fluids contain extraordinarily high concentrations of minerals, zinc, calcium, magnesium, proteins, hormones, testosterone, DHEA, oxytocin, neurotransmitters, and what biologists call stem cell activating factors. Each ejaculation for males releases approximately 200 to 500 million sperm cells, each one a potential human life, each one carrying half your genetic code. This isn't minor expenditure. It's the body's most expensive biological production, requiring vast resources to manufacture. The Vedic texts calculate that it takes 40 drops of blood to create 1 drop of semen, and 40 days of optimal nutrition to replenish what's lost in seconds of unconscious release. But here's what makes this secret truly powerful. The same force that creates external life can be redirected to create internal transformation. The Tantric and Taoist masters discovered that through specific breathwork, pranayama, muscular locks, bandhas, visualization, and movement practices like qigong, this descending creative force can be reversed, drawn upward through the central channel, Sushumna Nadi in yoga, the Chongmai in Taoism, to nourish the brain, activate dormant neural pathways, and literally rebuild your nervous system from the inside. This is the biological basis of enlightenment experiences, described across traditions. When refined sexual essence reaches the brain, it triggers the pineal gland, floods the cranium with cerebrospinal fluid, and creates the neurochemical cascade mystics describe as divine nectar, soma, or amrita, the bliss of consciousness tasting itself. Wilhelm Reich, the controversial psychoanalyst who came closest to scientifically validating this ancient knowledge, called it orgone energy, and measured its presence with specialized equipment. He observed that sexually vibrant individuals radiated a measurable bioelectromagnetic field that could be detected meters away, while those who had squandered their vitality showed almost no field at all. Modern research on semen retention, though still limited due to cultural taboos, has begun documenting remarkable effects. Significant increases in testosterone after 7 days of retention, enhanced cognitive function, improved athletic performance, and what practitioners describe as a magnetic presence that others can feel. This is the first secret. Sexual energy is not waste to be discarded, but treasure to be conserved, refined, and consciously invested in your own evolution. The second secret. The entities that feed on wasted essence. Now we enter territory that makes rationalist minds recoil, yet which every authentic mystery tradition across history has warned about with remarkable consistency. The existence of non-physical entities that feed on human emotional and vital energy, with sexual energy being their preferred delicacy. In Tibetan Buddhism, these are called hungry ghosts, pretas, beings trapped in a state of insatiable craving, drawn to human energy fields like moths to flame. In Christian demonology, the incubus and succubus specifically target human sexuality, visiting in dreams or half-sleep states to harvest sexual energy. Hindu tantric texts describe bhutas and pisachas, disembodied entities that lurk near sources of wasted vitality. Hermetic and Kabbalistic traditions speak of shells, Kaliphoth, parasitic forces that attach to humans through energetic wounds and continue draining them. Modern psychology dismissed all this as superstition until Carl Jung's revolutionary concept of autonomous complexes, psychological entities that seem to have their own agenda within the psyche, feeding on certain emotions and actually resisting being dissolved. What if Jung's psychological language was describing the same phenomena from a different angle? Contemporary shamanic practitioners like Sandra Ingerman and Robert Moss document soul retrieval work, where they directly perceive and remove parasitic attachments that keep clients drained, anxious and addicted, and repeatedly report that sexual trauma and sexual energy waste creates the most severe attachments. Here's how this mechanism works. Every time you reach orgasm, your aura, the protective electromagnetic field generated by your nervous system, momentarily ruptures, specifically at the lower chakras. This isn't metaphor, it's measurable. The intense neurological discharge combined with the flood of neurotransmitters creates what mystics describe as temporary possession, a brief window where your consciousness loses coherence, your protective field collapses, and your energetic boundaries dissolve. In traditional sexual union between committed partners who love each other, this vulnerability is mutual and creates sacred bonding. Their energy fields merge, they exchange vitality equally, and both recover quickly. But in masturbation, especially when fueled by pornographic imagery, carrying the fragmented sexual energy of dozens of performers, you're opening your energetic gates while flooding your consciousness with external fantasy material. You're essentially inviting unknown forces into your most intimate space. The entities that specialize in sexual energy harvesting are specifically tuned to detect these moments of rupture. They cluster around pornographic material, around strip clubs, around environments saturated with sexual frustration and addiction, feeding on the wasted essence like ethereal vampires. And once they establish a connection during one of these vulnerable moments, they form what shamanic traditions call a cord, an energetic feeding tube that persists beyond the original event, creating an addictive loop. The entity whispers suggestions into your mind, experienced as intrusive thoughts or overwhelming urges. You give in, release more essence through the temporary rupture. The entity feeds and grows stronger. The whispers intensify. This is why sexual addictions feel so compulsive, so resistant to willpower alone, because willpower addresses the conscious mind. But the entity operates at a deeper level, where rational decision-making has little power. Recovery requires not just behavior change, but actual energetic clearing, cord-cutting ceremonies, protective shield building, and most importantly, stopping the feeding cycle long enough that the parasitic entity weakens and detaches because you're no longer a viable food source. Every traditional culture developed specific practices for this: smudging with sacred smoke, sage, palo santo, copal, ritual bathing, prayer, fasting, protective amulets, sleeping with specific stones or herbs, all designed to cleanse the energy field and strengthen boundaries. Modern people often try these practices without understanding their purpose, and then dismiss them as superstition when they don't work. But that's because the practice must be coupled with energetic awareness and strong intention. The second secret is this: masturbation isn't just a personal habit affecting only you. It creates vulnerability that allows parasitic forces to establish feeding relationships that then drive the compulsive cycle, draining your life force to sustain themselves. Breaking free requires addressing both the behavior and the attached entity. The third secret: the transmutation protocol. The final and most practical secret is the actual technology, the precise step-by-step process that mystery schools taught initiates for consciously managing, retaining, and transmuting sexual energy. This isn't abstract philosophy but practical instruction, developed and refined over millennia of experimentation by thousands of practitioners who risked their reputations and sometimes their lives to preserve this knowledge. The foundation, the three locks, bandhas. First, you must learn to physically prevent the unconscious dissipation of vital force. In yoga, three muscular locks form the foundation of energy retention: Mula Bandha, root lock, engaging perineum; Uddiyana Bandha, abdominal lock, drawing belly inward and upward; and Jalandhara Bandha, throat lock, tucking chin. These aren't mere exercises. They're physiological valves that redirect the flow of cerebrospinal fluid and bioelectric current. When engaged simultaneously during breath retention, they create internal pressure that forces essence upward through the central channel rather than allowing it to dissipate downward and outward. Practice: sitting in meditation posture, exhale completely, engage all three locks, hold for 10-30 seconds, release, breathe normally, repeat. Done consistently, ideally twice daily, morning and evening. This reprograms the autonomic nervous system's default response to sexual arousal. Stage 2. Microcosmic orbit meditation. The Taoist masters discovered that sexual energy, when not released, doesn't simply stay stagnant. It must be circulated or it creates uncomfortable internal pressure, what Wilhelm Reich called organ neurosis. The solution: guide it through a specific circuit. Sit in meditation. Bring awareness to the perineum as you inhale. Visualize drawing energy up the spine. Do my governor channel, from tailbone through each vertebra to the crown. At the crown, pause. As you exhale, guide the energy down the front midline, Renmai conception channel, from forehead through throat, heart, navel, back to perineum. This creates a complete energetic circuit that prevents stagnation, distributes vitality throughout the system, and critically, brings essence into contact with the brain, where it triggers pineal activation and higher consciousness states. Practice this for 20-30 minutes daily. Initially, you feel nothing that's normal. After weeks or months, you begin sensing actual movement, warmth, tingling, pressure moving along the pathway. That's not imagination. That's your awareness making contact with your bioelectric anatomy. Stage 3. Sublimation through creative action. This is crucial. Retained sexual energy doesn't automatically transform into higher consciousness. It must be consciously directed toward meaningful activity, or it simply intensifies desire and creates irritability. The masters observed that sexual energy and creative energy are the same force at different densities. When you feel intense sexual urge, don't suppress it, don't indulge it, transmute it. Immediately channel that surge into creative work, physical exercise, spiritual practice, meaningful service. The feeling of being on fire with inspiration is literally your retained sexual energy being expressed through higher channels. Artists have known this forever. Periods of sexual abstinence often correlate with creative breakthroughs, stage 4 semen retention for males, and energetic continence for females. For men, the goal isn't lifetime celibacy unless that's your path, but conscious control. Learn to separate orgasm from ejaculation. They're neurologically distinct events. Tantric and Taoist texts teach techniques for experiencing the pleasure of orgasm while retaining the essence. This requires practice, patience, and often guidance. Start simply. Reduce frequency progressively. If daily, go to every other day, then twice weekly, then weekly, etc. Each successful retention period strengthens willpower and increases vitality noticeably. For women, though women don't expel essence in the same way, excessive orgasm without retention still depletes Jing through hormonal flooding and nervous system depletion. The same principles apply. Learn to direct arousal energy upward through breath and intention, rather than always releasing downward. Stage 5. When to release and how to recover. Complete lifelong celibacy isn't necessary or realistic for most. The wisdom is release consciously, rarely, and with intention. Never unconsciously, compulsively, or to escape emotion. If you do release, immediately perform energy sealing practice, the 3 locks. Consume nourishing foods, bone broth, eggs, healthy fats, minerals, rest deeply. Avoid depleting activities for 24-48 hours. And most importantly, don't spiral into guilt or shame. That energetic self-attack causes more damage than the release itself. The difference between conscious release within sacred partnership and unconscious masturbation to pornography is the difference between offering sacred wine to the gods versus pouring it into a sewer. The third secret is this: sexual energy management is learnable skill, not moral willpower contest. And those who master it access reservoirs of vitality, creativity, and spiritual power that most humans never imagined possible. Integration and the path of mastery. Understanding. The mechanics is essential, but wisdom comes in knowing how to walk this path in the real world, not as a monk in a cave, but as a spiritual warrior, navigating modern temptations. The ultimate mastery isn't about rigid perfection or puritanical suppression. It's about conscious sovereignty over your own life force. Let's address the practical challenges honestly. The modern environment is engineered to make sexual continence nearly impossible. Algorithm-driven pornography, designed by the most sophisticated behavioral psychologists to trigger dopamine addiction. Media saturated with hypersexualized imagery. A culture that mocks self-discipline as repression, while celebrating compulsive indulgence as freedom. You're swimming against a tsunami. But that's precisely what makes this work heroic, and precisely why it's so transformative. Those who succeed don't do so through willpower alone, but through intelligent strategy. Strategy 1: eliminate triggers at the source. You cannot win a battle you fight 100 times daily. If you keep pornographic material accessible just in case, you'll use it. Install blocking software, not as punishment but as structural support. Eliminate social media accounts that flood you with triggering imagery. Change your phone habits. Never bring devices into bedroom, especially at night when willpower is lowest and parasitic entities are most active. Design your environment for success. Strategy 2. Understand the cycle patterns. Most relapses happen at predictable times. Late night when tired and defenses down. Times of stress when seeking comfort. Moments of boredom when mind craves stimulation. Periods after initial success when ego gets confident and drops guard. Map your personal pattern. When are you most vulnerable? Create specific protocols for those exact situations. Stressed? Do breathwork. Bored? Engage in creative project. Night temptation? Sleep with crystals or sacred object nearby. Set protection intention before bed. Strategy 3. The 90-day reboot. Neuroscientists studying addiction recovery observe that approximately 90 days of complete abstinence is required for dopamine receptors to reset and neural pathways to significantly reorganize. That means the first month is hardest. You're fighting ingrained circuits with minimal reward. Second month you start feeling benefits but remain vulnerable. Third month the new pattern solidifies, benefits become obvious, and the old compulsion loses much of its power. Commit to 90 days minimum before evaluating whether this path serves you. Strategy 4. Transmute or stagnate. This cannot be overemphasized. If you retain without transmuting, you'll experience uncomfortable pressure, irritability, even aggressive energy. This is not a sign that retention is unhealthy. It's a sign you're not circulating the energy properly. Practice the microcosmic orbit daily. Engage in vigorous physical activity. Pour yourself into creative work. Meditate intensely. The energy must move or it becomes toxic. Think of it like water in a reservoir. Stagnant water becomes foul, but flowing water stays pure. Strategy 5. Community and accountability. While the journey is ultimately individual, having others who understand this path makes survival possible. Whether that's an online community of practitioners, a trusted friend also on this path, or a mentor who's walked it before you, connection breaks the isolation that shame creates. Many report that simply knowing they'll check in with someone weekly about their practice dramatically increases their success rate. The deeper victory, reclaiming sovereignty. Ultimately, this is about far more than sexual habits. It's about answering the existential question, am I the master of my energy? Or am I a slave to impulses I don't control, feeding forces I can't perceive? Every time you feel the urge, pause, breathe, and recognize, this is a test. This is the universe asking, are you conscious enough to direct your creative force, or will you give it away unconsciously? Every successful retention is a vote for sovereignty. Every transmutation is a victory for consciousness. And over time, those individual victories accumulate into a transformed life. You notice your intuition sharpens. Your presence intensifies. People respond to you differently without you changing anything external. Opportunities magnetize toward you. Your creative work flows effortlessly. Your spiritual connection deepens dramatically. And most profoundly, you feel alive in a way that wasn't possible when you were giving your essence away. This is what the mystery schools meant by the secret of secrets. Not that sex is evil, it's sacred when conscious, but that sexual energy is liquid gold. and most humans pour it down the drain without ever realizing what they're wasting. The chosen ones who master this principle access power that sets them apart, not through superiority, but through simple physics. They're retaining and directing the creative force, while others unconsciously dissipate it. In a world of energetic poverty, conscious sexual stewardship makes you wealthy beyond measure. This is your birthright. This is your power. This is what they never taught you in school, church, or therapy, because those who know this secret understand it must be earned through discipline, not given freely to those who would waste it. Now you know. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge?